It's a live 107.3 Lee here with you on a Friday morning, as always, and a brand new episode of TNA Impact has landed overnight. Don't worry, there's no spoilers here. In the US, TNA Thursday Night Impact has found a brand new home, airing every week on AMC. As we said, here in the UK, you can catch it 2 a.m. Friday morning, or if you don't want to stay up to the wee small hours, anytime on demand using TNA Plus. And as always, there was some great action last night in the Knockouts division. That's all I'm going to say. A division that is currently in the state of flux. And my guest this morning, in my opinion, is at the heart of that. Over the past few months, she has dismantled the likes of Harley Hudson and Indy Hartwell, leaving the locker room in a state of fear. She was meant to be the one challenging for the Knockouts title at Genesis, but fate and paperwork had other plans. Please welcome to Live 107.3, in my opinion, the most dangerous woman in TNA wrestling today, Doomsday, Dani Luna. Dani, good morning. How are you?
Hi Lee, thanks for having me. I'm good, thank you.
I'm delighted you can join me. I know there's an awful lot going on in the world of TNA wrestling right now, but let's address the elephant in the room right off the bat. You, the rightful number one contender for the Knockouts World title at Genesis, due to those global visa issues we all know affected several international stars, forced off the card, had to watch from the sidelines. And while you were away dealing with all that, the landscape changed with Ariana Grace. She came in, ascended to the throne of Knockouts World Champion. Firstly, how frustrating was it for you to be on the sidelines through no fault of your own? And then, how do you feel now that we have a performer like Ariana Grace, a non TNA talent, holding that Knockouts championship?
Yeah, I mean, of course it was so frustrating at the time, especially because I felt like I'd spent the latter half of last year proving myself again and again and showing and through action why I should kind of be the top of the division and why I should be the number one contender for the Knockouts Championship. And I felt like everything was kind of going in my favor, and then yeah, the rug was just kind of pulled up from under me. And obviously, it's nobody's fault, but it's hard not to feel a little perturbed by it, I guess. And it's so hard to know that I have full confidence that I would be sat here as the Knockouts champion right now if that hadn't happened. Especially since following that, I have since gone on to beat Laying Lee. So, the writing is already on the wall, and now it's just a case of getting that opportunity back. And I'm working on it. I definitely am. I'm eyeing up Sacrifice on March 27th as when I want to be the day that Dani Luna wins and Dani Luna becomes the TNA Knockouts champion. I feel like right now we're, being held in this limbo where our champion is barely even a wrestler on her own show, and now she's our champion. And that's not taking anything away from Ariana Grace. I think she's progressed so much as a competitor in the last few months, and she's obviously done all the right things and made all the right decisions and kind of struck when the iron's hot. But
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that I'm not going to come in and ruin it all and win the Knockouts Championship.
You mentioned there, obviously, Ariana Grace seems to be getting a lot of time on TNA Thursday Night Impact and obviously on Explosion and everything else. That's got to be down to her dad there.
Mm.
Uh, Again, just now we seem to have this conflict going on backstage at TNA between the two authority figures, Santino Marella and Daria Ray, the suit. What do you make of those two there just now? Obviously, it's strange. It's probably it's uncomfortable as a fan here watching this. How uneasy is it in the locker room just now with these two conflicting authorities?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like either of them, to be honest. And neither of them seem to want to talk to me, so I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm uh, the best person to um, talk to authority figures anyway. I feel like I very much just kind of do what I want.
Hmm.
Santino hasn't been the best at controlling me when needs be. And maybe Daria Ray will be different, but so far, all I'm seeing is, two guys arguing and the inmates running the asylum underneath them. So I'm going to try and put a stop to that. But ultimately, I feel like when I'm running the division, it won't really matter who's in charge.
Well, I suppose that we need to ask that question as well. So, we already mentioned Sacrifice there. That's upcoming. Tickets still on sale for that. You can head over to tnawrestling.com, or of course here in the UK, you can see it on TNA Plus. Uh, is that what you're aiming for? Because we know you've got that number one contender shot. You should rightly have it just now. But again, it's just a question. Is it a question of biding your time for this? Because if the opportunity comes up before that, could we see something happen? As you say, the unrest between management this past week, we found out TNA former world champion Steve Macklin, he lost. He got a pink slip at Feast and Fire. 2 weeks later, he's been re-signed with the company. It really does seem, as you say, like the lunatics are running the asylum just now.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's whenever an opportunity arises, I will be there. And if it doesn't, I will take it. I will work my way to that Knockouts championship no matter what. And I feel like my biggest worry now is I feel like I'm constantly the lines getting jumped.
Hmm.
There's always somebody new. Last week, Jodie Threat wrestled for the title, and she had nothing to do with it when I was here last year. So I think it's just kind of making sure I stay in the front of the line and being off anybody else that tries to jump it.
You mentioned Jodie there, and you mentioned obviously that opportunity she had last week live on Thursday Night Impact in Atlanta, which I thought was very interesting. It was a interesting match. What I was more interested with, however, was the action taking place outside of the ring. All the knockouts, the big name knockouts, and there's so many of them in the division just now. Like yourself, coming down through the crowd, getting a up close and personal to see what was going on with that championship. When you look around the ring just now, you looked around. You obviously had yourself, you had Indy Hartwell, you had the Elegance brand, Elena Black, all these big names. Tessa Blanchard, they of course she was on commentary with Tom. Uh, how stacked is the knockouts division right now in comparison to the time that you've been with TNA Wrestling? I mean, is this your third year with the company now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so also you've seen it from I'm not going to say the lows, but you've seen it from when it was rebuilding to where we are now. And in my opinion, and correct me if you think differently, arguably the greatest and most stacked women's division on the planet just now.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And like you said, I feel like when I started in TNA, it was just Jordan. She
Hmm.
was running the roost and she's incredible, but it felt like we needed people to step up. We needed people to match the talent she had and the intensity that she brought to the division. And, since then she's left and I feel like we've all done a really good job of fitting in our places and understanding how kind of rounded the division does need to be. There needs to be a wrestler for everybody. And I really do think that now we do have one of the most well-rounded divisions in the world, like you said. And there's so much healthy competition there. There's some unhealthy competition too, but ultimately, I think it's the perfect division for people to watch. And I think it's the perfect division for me to be at the top of, frankly.
Very much so. You have grown as a performer in so many ways since you first debuted in what was then Impact Wrestling, what is now TNA. And I think as a UK based fan, having you as one of our own, you have done us proud. We've followed that through, and it's an amazing sense of pride to see where you are now heading towards the top of that division. When you look at the amazing British wrestlers that we've seen in TNA wrestling and in Impact Wrestling over the history of this organization. Why do you feel it is we have people like yourself gravitating towards Impact for a TNA for their career? Because when you look at it, we've had obviously yourself, we've got Harley Hudson, we've had Joe Henry, we've had Doug Williams, we've had all members of British Invasion. There does seem to be a natural pull towards TNA.
Yeah, I find that I think TNA at its core is created by and very much for people that love pro wrestling.
Mm.
And I find that the wrestlers that love pro wrestling the most just gravitate towards that. I feel like that's what I did. I feel like that's what Mark Andrews did when he did British Boot Camp. Like it really does create this space where we all just want to, show you our best and show you that. all of our rosters are the best rosters in the world, and this is the best pro wrestling you can watch on TV. And I think as somebody that takes so much pride in their work and somebody that is such a student of the game, it does just pull you in of like, this is where I feel I can give you Dani Luna pro wrestling at its most raw. You know what I mean? And being able to be around such like-minded people makes it a lot easier.
You mentioned obviously TNA British Boot Camp there. Fantastic to see as you can go back and watch those on TNA Plus, where you can also catch more than 20 years worth of TNA footage, all the premium live events, everything you need to see. Head on right now to watch.tnawrestling.com. We're going to continue speaking with Dani. Do not go anywhere. It's live 107.3. Lee here with you this Friday morning. I mentioned before, it's another fantastic episode of TNA Thursday Night Impact. If you didn't stay up live to watch it at 2 a.m., you can catch it right now on demand. I'm delighted to be joined by the next TNA Knockouts champion, in my opinion, Dani Luna. Dani, you still with me, my friend?
Yeah, that's right. I am after you said that.
Danny, before the break there, we were talking about TNA Plus, an amazing back catalogue of great matches, magical moments, and so very much more. And you mentioned obviously TNA is the wrestling fans' wrestling promotion. What was was there a TNA moment or a TNA match that made you fall in love with the promotion?
Wow, interesting. I find my first memory of TNA growing up was I felt like they did so much more stipulation matches for the women than any other wrestling promotion did. So I have so many memories of turning the TV on when I was a kid and Gail Kim was going through tables and it was incredible because like that kind of wasn't being done anywhere else at the time. And I felt like we were given an expectation of what women's wrestling was everywhere else. And then TNA kind of came in and went, oh, you think? And we'll just show you some of the most extreme stuff you've ever seen in your life. And even just, they did a lot of work in intergender wrestling as well, which just isn't really seen anywhere else in the world. And I felt like as a kid growing up and finding out what kind of wrestling I liked and what intrigued me about it, it was the easiest way to see so much variety, and just some women doing some crazy stuff.
It was great. Again, I've got a load of notes here with me. I'm not getting to half of them because you keep mentioning things that inspired me off in other parts of the conversation. There, intergender wrestling again. How difficult is it to adapt to that sort of thing? Because there's a natural challenge in heights and weights and everything else. And of course, last year at Bound for Glory, we saw the return the Call Your Shot gauntlet match. And there's a lot of bodies in
Mhm.
there at that time, all trying to do their thing, all trying to get those people up and over the top rope. How do you prepare for something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lot, and it was definitely a lot more overstimulating than I could have ever been prepared for. But I think ultimately my main goal was just get in there and throw people around. And I know I can do that and I can do it quick. And as long as nobody stops me, I've got a pretty good chance. So I managed to do it for a little while. I think I
Mhm.
was, for my first ever, core shot gauntlet, I think I did a pretty good job. And there's no downplaying, obviously, the incredible amount of talent that was in that match. Um, but yeah, it's a lot, and there's so many, wrestlers in that match that I never would have really thought I'd have even get to be in the ring with. So it's a really good opportunity in that sense too, of people that I work with but never get to wrestle and getting to roll around with them is really cool.
What was it like? Because obviously Bound for Glory was a huge event, absolutely massive, the biggest TNA North American gate of all time. And as we say, the Hardys were there, Team 3D were there, Mickey James, the beautiful people. Uh, do you still have oh my gosh moments when you're in that locker room or you find out people are going to be coming in to be involved either in front or behind the camera?
Yeah, of course. I think especially because everyone at TNA is always quite chill.
Mm.
A lot of the times you don't even realize who you're kind of stood next to until you turn around. Like the other week when Mickey James was at Impact, I didn't even know like she was in the building yet. And then all of a sudden I'm stood at Gorilla and she stood next to me and she's like chatting about what's happening. I was like, oh, Mickey James is here. Hi, like nice to meet you. Um, but like I said, everyone just kind of wants to be involved and everybody wants to, impart their knowledge that they may have to the rest of the roster. So everyone does just kind of gel together really easily. It never feels forced or like I need to be saying certain things to these,
Mm.
veterans of the scene. Like ultimately, they're happy to be there and I'm happy to be there. So it makes it really easy.
Uh, you've worked in promotions all over the globe. You really have. It's been amazing to see how you've interacted with the fans, the stories, and everything else. What would it mean to you to come back here to the UK as part of a TNA tour? Because we know you were part of the last Impact
Hmm.
tour. You were just coming back in as that part, but things have changed. Everything's ramped up a little bit since those three letters came back. What would it mean to you to come back to the UK as part of a TNA tour? And just between you, me, and the listeners, any information, any truth to these rumors we're going to see TNA back in the UK this year?
I don't have any information other than I'm always asking for it to happen. Um, but man, it would be monumental. I really do think. I think the last time when I did the Impact tour, everyone obviously I wasn't contracted to TNA at the time. They were very much just kind of giving me an opportunity. And I felt like everybody there knew that. And I was just this kind of young up and comer, and they were rooting for me, and everyone wanted me to do well. So being able to go back now as somebody that is at the top of the division and has been there and has done it all, like would be such an incredible feeling. And it would feel like a real homecoming to kind of put those two next to each other and see where we've gone. But God, yeah, it can't come soon enough, really.
I'm just saying, Carlos, has to happen this year. Has to happen this year.
Absolutely.
There's one more thing I would love to do with you, Danny, if that's all right. We do this with all the TNA superstars we're lucky enough to speak with. I have in front of me the names of five TNA superstars. I would like you to give me the first thing that jumps into your head. Are you ready and up for a round of the name game?
Yeah, just one word.
One word. Yes, let's go with one
Okay.
word. Okay. First name, Tessa Blanchard.
Mean.
Brian Myers.
Collected.
Ooh, that's
Thank
really
you.
good. It's okay. Number three, Gia Miller.
Can I say three words?
Go on.
Life of party.
See, there sounds like there's stories there. We need to have a separate conversation about that. Number four, Nick Nemeth.
Boss.
All right, you can use as many words as you want for the next person, who is without doubt the coolest man in TNA wrestling. He is the voice of the promotion, Mr. Smooth, Tom Hannifan.
Oh man, did he pay you to say that?
No, no, it's just one of these things. I don't know what it is. It's like I fangirl anytime I see Tom Hannifan. I think honestly, and I'm not just saying this, I've said it to himself when I was lucky enough to speak to him a few months ago. I honestly think he is the greatest announcer in the business today, and he's leveled up since he came to the promotion. Without doubt, and this is strange as if I'm sorry, I'm going off here. As a former WCW boy, I loved Tony Schiavone in his heyday, but
Mm.
Tom Hannifan is to me the voice of. So yes, so Tom Hannifan. So
No,
no,
he is incredible.
didn't pay me. What?
He
Yes,
is
what do you
so
think, Tom
fantastic
Hannifan?
at his job, and he was actually a really big part in the whole Doomsday Danny Luna thing that we've
Mm.
got going on now. He's got such an incredible brain, and he's called so much wrestling that he knows when things fit, and he knows when something doesn't feel right, and he's such an asset to have backstage and be able to talk to and just vibe things off. Does this sound good? Does this sound believable? Do you think I can portray this? And
Mm.
if he thinks you can, he will do everything in his power to surround it, with words that affirm exactly who you're trying to be. And yeah, he's incredible at his job. We love Tom.
We love Tom. There we go. Thank you so much, Dani Luna. She is getting set for Sacrifice. It comes your way, TNA Plus. You can watch it here in the UK. You can also grab your tickets right now, not only for Sacrifice, but for a TNA live event the next day. That is taking place at the Alario Center in New Orleans. They're then heading to Cleveland, Ohio for TNA Rebellion, Saturday, April 11th, and on to Syracuse, New York for back-to-back live events, Tuesday, April 14th, Wednesday, April 15th. Get your tickets right now. TNAWrestling.com. And you can show Dani your love by heading online to TNAmerch.com and checking out everything that is going on there. Dani, thank you so much for taking the time. When we speak next, I fingers crossed will be introducing you as the TNA Knockouts champion. Thank you, Dani
Thank
Luna.
you so much.